It's Premier League prediction time for the 2021-22 season. As well as predicting all the teams from 1 to 20, I will also give my player awards at the end of the video. It's an exciting season we've got on our hands, and if you're excited for the season, then click the like button on the video. It's very much appreciated, but let's waste no more time and get straight into the predictions. In 20th place then we start off with one of the newly promoted teams, and I've gone with Watford. Now, even though I think their recruitment this season has been interesting with Emmanuel Dennis coming in, I really rate him as a player. Joshua King I think is a clever signing. Ashley Fletcher is an interesting one, quite confusing though. Danny Rose also an experienced Premier League player. Ismail Assar is of course still at the club, and that's all good, but I'm sure at some point in the season there's going to be a manager change. It just seems inevitable with Watford that they'll be in the relegation zone, the manager will be sacked, and there'll be a change of direction at the club. So even though there is some decent players in their squad, I can't see anything other than relegation, and for me it's 20th place for Watford. Above them is another newly promoted side. I've gone with Norwich City, who I think could have potential of finishing higher. They could avoid relegation this season. I think a big reason as to why they could stay in the Premier League is in the midfield with Billy Gilmour. I think he's game changing. He'll really dictate the tempo of the team, and he'll find passes that no other player in their squad will. I don't expect Billy Gilmour to get a lot of goals and assists, but I think his passes could lead to many goals for the side. Todd Cantwell is still at Norwich, and he did really well previously in the Premier League. They've also got a new signing in Rashika, but overall for this Norwich City squad, when you compare it to other squads in the Premier League, it's just not on that level. So 19th place for Norwich, and not rock bottom, which is where they finished previously in the Premier League. 18th place is a difficult one, but I have gone with Southampton, which is a massive contrast as to what I predicted them last season. Coming into last season, I had Southampton as a team to surprise a lot of people. They were an informed team. The prospect of Ings and Adams as a strike partnership was exciting. They were looking good coming into that season, and they started off fairly well. They were top of the league at one point, but ever since then they've dropped out of form and just don't look like the same Southampton. The recruitment this season hasn't been amazing. They've got Perrault, the left back, coming from France, 2 players from Chelsea, Livramento on a permanent, Brozier on a loan, and also Theo Walcott is now on a free transfer. Che Adams was good last season. He was better and scored more goals, but he's not in that strike partnership anymore with Danny Ings. This is the type of prediction that could be totally wrong, and their form could drastically change next season. But with the way things have been looking towards the end of last season and their recruitment so far, I've gone with Southampton in 18th. Just outside the relegation zone, I've gone with Burnley, and at one point I did actually have them in the relegation zone, but Sean Dyche always finds a way to keep them in the Premier League. Another reason as to why I've not put them in the relegation zone is because the defence is the same. They massively rely on the defence, and they've still got their best players there in terms of Tarkowski, Pope in goal, Ben Mee, Charlie Taylor, Nathan Collins is a new signing and he looks good. It's not looking so good though for Burnley in attack. They've got a lot of aging attackers now. Chris Wood 29, Jay Rodriguez is 32, Ashley Barnes is 31, Vidra's 29. They'll be okay for this season, but soon that attack will need addressing in the transfer market. In 16th, coming up from the Championship, I have got Brentford. They haven't lost any of their influential players from their promotion season, so Ivan Toney's still at the club. They've still got Brian Mbeumo. They've added to their squad with Christoph Ayer at the back, and Frank Onyeka in the midfield looks a solid signing. I think the more attacking way that they play and taking risks will pay off against some teams, and that will get them results. They will create chances, and a goal scorer like Ivan Toney in the box massively helps in the Premier League. They've been waiting to come up to the Premier League season upon season, and now they're finally here. I think they're going to show people what they're all about. In 15th place is Newcastle United. Now, they would have been lower in the league table if they hadn't got Joe Willock, which is looking very, very likely right now. He adds goals to their team, and that is the most important thing for Newcastle in the transfer window, adding more goals to the team. And someone like Joe Willock, who's a midfielder but gets into the box in positions to help out with Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson can't be everywhere in the box to finish every chance created, and that is why Willock was able to get goals last season and look great in their team. If they can have a little bit more luck with the fitness of Alan St. Maximin, that will massively help throughout the full season. And I think Callum Wilson's season maybe went a little bit under the radar, a bit underrated. He was good for them. And also one player in their team I think could improve in this 3-5-2 system that Newcastle are going for now is Jamal Lewis. He wasn't fantastic for them last season, but I think that could change coming into this season. In 14th place, I've got Crystal Palace. I really think Patrick Vieira's side are going to show what they're all about. And it's their recruitment this season which has really been superb. 4 players who were impressive performers last season. Mark Guehi was at Swansea City, Joachim Anderson was at Fulham, Michael Elise at Reading, and then Conor Gallagher was at West Brom. And all of those players last season season at those clubs were good performers. So Crystal Palace have signed 4 players here who have proven either in the Championship or the Premier League that they can play at this level. And it's also players that suit the more attacking, expansive football that Patrick Vieira wants to play at Palace. And also they've got Eberici Eze, who's injured at the moment, but when he comes into the team, wow, I mean, this Palace team is going to be so good. Whether it will perform really good on the pitch is a different story, however, we know it will be entertaining to watch at least. Above them in 13th is Brighton. Now they have potential to do a lot better than this, it depends on the transfers. There is real potential for Brighton to kick on this season and for Graham Potter to show that progress has been made, but in terms of the league table position. So far the transfer window hasn't really been that impressive. It seems like we're all waiting for that striker to be signed, but we just don't know who that is. If that striker is signed, we know this Brighton team create chances, we know the defence was better last season. If a striker does get signed, it's all set up at Brighton to have a much better season. Keeping Basuma in the midfield is massive, adding Mwepu to that is really where the excitement comes in this Brighton team for next season. In 12th place then, I have gone with Wolves, and there's a lot of unknowns surrounding Wolves at the moment. With their manager, how is he going to get on in the Premier League? Raul Jimenez, we know how good of a goal scorer he's been in the Premier League, but what is his fitness going to be like coming back into the Premier League now? And these players have been so used to Nuno Espirito Santo as the manager, so how will they get on under a different manager? And also one of their top performers for many seasons at the club is Ruben Neves, but will he still be at the club? There's a lot of questions surrounding Wolves coming into the season, but what we do know is that they have exciting wingers. Traore is still at the club, you've got Pedro Neto who's injured coming into the season though. Podence, can he be better this season? And also they've got Trincao, the new signing from Barcelona. Even with all those questions surrounding Wolves, I don't think they've got too much to worry about, and a mid-table 12th place finish is what I'm saying for them. In 11th place I've got Everton, which is one place below where they came last season. They finished 10th under Carlo Ancelotti, but now without Ancelotti, Rafa Benitez coming into the side, the transfers that have been made, I can't really see much progression with Everton at the moment. Signings like Damari Gray and Andros Townsend are a little bit underwhelming. Maybe clever signings, but definitely not on the scale of last summer's transfer window. James Rodriguez, Alan, and Decore was another addition in the midfield. I guess what is like a new signing this season is Gabaman. He's had injuries throughout his whole Everton career, but it might be that this season he's injury free coming into the start of the season. But even then, Everton as a whole, I'm not too optimistic about them, and as it stands, all I can see is an 11th place finish. Bang on mid-table, in 10th place I've got West Ham United. West Ham were the surprise team of last season, getting into the European spots. But now they've qualified for European football, the recruitment hasn't been on the level that it needs to be. We saw better recruitment last season when there was no European football, and you saw with how they performed in the season how the recruitment had a massive effect on their performances last season, with players like Soucek and Sofal coming in. You would think that the board at West Ham would see that, the players that they signed making a massive difference, and then wanting to sign more, but we haven't really seen that so far. But they haven't really lost anybody too important. Felipe Anderson and Balbuena are the departures, but the rest of the squad is still there. Mikel Antonio is still the striker, but a backup is needed. And someone who will play more of a part this season is Saeed Benrahma. He's looked really good in pre-season, and I can't wait to watch him this season in the Premier League. In 9th place, I've gone with Leeds United. That is exactly where they finished last season, and I expect that form to continue into this season. Not much has really changed at the club. There hasn't been any important players leave. Junior Firpo has joined, and he will be exciting to watch. Jack Harrison has now been signed on a permanent deal, and of course Bielsa is still at the club, so we can expect that same risky, fast, attacking football from Leeds. It's what got them into 9th place last season. There hasn't really been any substantial transfers to say they can finish any higher, so I'm just going with the same 9th place finish for them. In 8th place then, I know a lot of people watching this video will be interested in Aston Villa, and that's who I've put in 8th place. Now their transfer business this summer has been up there with the best, alongside Crystal Palace for me. Simply going out into the transfer market, signing players who you know can perform in the Premier League like Danny Ings, Bundia, an experienced player in Ashley Young and also ex-Aston Villa player, Axel Tuanzebe on loan from Manchester United. He also played for Villa when they got promoted from the Championship. And then Leon Bailey from Bayer Leverkusen. He's the only player they've signed who's not played in the Premier League. But all these players have been signed, all these attackers have been signed because their big attacker Jack Grealish has left the club. You'd have thought that with Jack Grealish's departure from Villa, you'd sort of be disappointed with Villa and putting them lower in the league table, but their transfer business has been brilliant. And I'm almost more excited about Aston Villa now without Jack Grealish because of the transfer business they've been able to do. I think it will mean for quite a bit of the season they're competing for those European spots, but I've got Aston Villa in 8th place. In 7th place then, I have got Arsenal, who have just signed signed Ben White for £52 million. They've also spent money on Albert Sambi Lokonga from Anderlecht, and they've also brought in another left-back in Nuno Tavares. I feel like Arsenal have recruited smartly, especially going out and getting a player like Lokonga. Only £15 million, but he could be such an impactful player in their team. But I've never really been too convinced by Arsenal since Mikel Arteta's been at the club. It might be that this season things start to gel at Arsenal and we see players like Bukayo Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, maybe even Martinelli, the younger players at the club, start performing well. So even though I'm putting them in 7th place, I feel like there is potential for them to do a little bit better, but I'm not that confident, and that is the reason why they are in 7th. In 6th place above them, I've gone with Tottenham Hotspur, who have now got Nuno Espirito Santo. They've also got Harry Kane for now. Who knows where he's going to be come September though. There has been a bit of positivity around their transfer business though. Bryan Hill has arrived from Sevilla for £22 million, and also 2 loan signings from Atalanta. They've brought in Galini, the goalkeeper, and Christian Romero, the centre-back. Someone new in the defence was much needed, and a whole refresh of the defence was much needed, so I think that is a good signing at the back. What I think Tottenham do have is a lot of players at the club who can do much better than what they've shown in previous seasons. For example, Ndombele, I think there's much more to come from him. Lo Celso, there's more to come from him. Dele Alli, can he get back to what he was doing? Højbjerg was a great performer last season, but we saw a different kind of Højbjerg at Euro 2020 for Denmark. We saw a more attacking side to his game when playing for Denmark, so will we see that at Tottenham? It is a new manager coming into the club though, so of course there will be inconsistencies, and that is why I'm putting them in 6th place. In 5th place, I've got Leicester City, once again. The thing is with Leicester, they've been in the top 4 for so long, but then they never finish in the top 4, so they could easily do it this season. It is just really hard to predict Leicester in the top 4, because on paper, you look at the other teams and you just think, surely they are going to finish above Leicester. But once again, there's been smart recruitment from Leicester. Patson Daka, I can't wait to see him in the Premier League. Boubakary Soumaré in the midfield, and also Ryan Bertrand on a free transfer. Losing Wesley Fofana in pre-season is a massive loss, however I think Leicester should be able to cope. Harvey Barnes back into the team, and with players like Maddison, Ndidi, Tielemans still in the team as well, I think Leicester are set up for another good season. 5th place for Leicester, just outside the Champions League places, but I wouldn't be surprised if they finish in the top 4. As we now move into the top 4, in 4th place I have Liverpool. They needed more cover in defence, and they've gone out and got that in Konate, a brilliant centre-back from RB Leipzig. They've lost Wijnaldum in the midfield, but I think they should be able to cope with the departure of him. They've got Harvey Elliott coming into the side, and he comes back to Liverpool as a better player after a good loan spell at Blackburn Rovers. I think this season we'll see Diogo Jota as a more prominent feature in Liverpool's front line. And of course they've still got the same front line of Mane, Firmino, Salah. They've got the potential to finish higher than 4th place. However, other teams have strengthened in the transfer market and have been in better form than Liverpool. So that's the reason as to why I can only put them in 4th place. In 3rd place then, I've got Manchester United. They finished on 74 points last season, and I think this will be a 3-horse title race. Liverpool I think will also be in it, but I think United are going to be more in it this season for sure. After signing Jadon Sancho, a right winger which they've needed for so long, that's massive. Improving that defence with Rafael Varane coming into that back line alongside Maguire, with Luke Shaw who's been in great form, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka. That is a great defence that you probably would say is a title winning defence. Where United are lacking and they need another signing is clear and obvious. A defensive midfielder is needed. I don't think Scott McTominay or Fred are the right player for that role. They're good players that can play a good part throughout the season, but if they're gonna win a title, and if they were to switch to a 4-3-3, then a defensive midfielder is needed. Manchester United will challenge for the Premier League title this season, but if they're really gonna win it, that defensive midfielder is needed, and maybe my prediction for them would be a little different. For now though, in 2nd place I have got Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea. Ever since he's come in, they've looked so much better, and especially in defence. When he joined, they went so many games, I can't remember how many, but without scoring a goal. If they can become that strong in defence again, then that is the kind of form that wins you league titles. But let's stop talking about their defence for a moment, because they're signing Romelu Lukaku in attack. That's a ridiculous signing. You're basically signing a player who guarantees you 20 goals and more a season. They've got really good attacking depth, and they will create chances. Lukaku will score plenty of goals, and they're going to be the best competitor to Manchester City, who I think will win the Premier League title. They just looked so comfortable last season in the second half of for the season after they went on that ridiculous win streak. They've then gone into the transfer market and casually just added Jack Grealish to the side for a record fee. Where he fits into this team and how much of an impact he will have on the team will be very interesting to see. But for sure, wherever he is on the pitch, he will have an influence, he will create chances. We know the kind of player that he is. Even without this signing of Jack Grealish, I would have predicted them to win the league title. They were favourites for the league without him. That defensive partnership last season, John Stones and Ruben Dias, was really hard to break through. I don't think it will be as comfortable for them this season, and it will be more competitive. Like I say, Chelsea, United and Liverpool will all compete for the title, but I think with the depth that Manchester City have, they should finish first. And then the player awards at the end here. The top goal scorer, Romelu Lukaku. It might be a little bit reactionary to his signing, but I think he will do well. The top assister, I've gone with Bruno Fernandes. It's either him or De Bruyne, but I've gone with Fernandes. Player of the season, Bruno Fernandes, although if City win the league, it'll probably be a City player. That's why I've gone with Phil Foden for the young player of the season. Let me know your league table predictions in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, then please click the like button. It's massively appreciated. And for more Premier League insight and analysis, subscribe to Route 1.